Now then, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while between drinks, as they say in common parlance, but welcome to a brand new series. And the brand new series is about catching carp. Right, seriously, what we're going to be doing over the next few months is the lads from Carpology are going to be coming along on a journey, and it's a journey which hopefully we might have a fish or two. But what I wanted to do to begin with was, as in all journeys, there has to be a start. And bless him, Neil's come all the way from Cheshire today in freezing conditions. And when I mean freezing, ladies and gentlemen, I mean freezing. When you get a nose this red, it's not all to do with bad living. A lot of it's to do with the weather. And let me tell you, you could light a cigar on this at the moment. It's absolutely freezing. But we've started on this journey, and the journey basically is we're going to be compiling 5 or 6 films over the course of 2026, where yours truly is going to be on a journey to try and catch a few fish. Now, when you get as old and as ugly as me, you actually realise that being relative is the most important part of modern day carp fishing. And so, as much as boring old farts like me would be able to talk about the good old days when you used to do this and used to do that, simple reality is that what is important about today's carp fishing is today's results. So the best way to do that is the litmus paper test, which is to say to people, right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll follow this bloke around and see if he can make things happen. Well, that's exactly what this first stage is. And I'm trying to make things happen, and I've actually not made anything happen. I've been fishing now for about 24 hours, and Neil's very kindly come along and we've explained what we're going to do. But the weather conditions are transpiring against us. But you know what? We're still at it. And one thing which I think is important to get off my chest straight away is to tell people that cold water carping, you have to have a different mind mentality. I mean, the essence of this film, if you follow any seasoned carp angler around for a while, if you follow him over a 12-month period, you will get inside the mind. And so one of the things which I've always said to people is that the mindset is the main tool in your carp fishing armoury. And here today it's a classic example. We've got quite good air pressure conditions. We've got 1,002 at the moment. Now don't forget, as I've said to people for a long time, people get misunderstood about air pressure. What's classed as low air pressure, would you believe, is anything that's less than 1,015. So when people think about great air pressure being 980s, 990, the reality is if it's less than 1,015, it's classed as low air pressure. So we've got low air pressure today, which is good. However, we've got air temperatures that are not getting above 2 degrees, which is not working well for us. Throw in the mix the north wind that swung round on me, and the reality is that bites are few and far between. However, we're on a water where there's a reasonable good head of stock. This water has changed its biomass over the years, like many carp waters. Historically, if we would have been sat here 20 years ago, the stock we were fishing for then is not the stock we're fishing for now. Fish don't live the same length of time that they used to live. There's a multitude of reasons for that, in my opinion. But they are the odd big fish that still here from the original stockings, sort of 40 years plus some of these fish are. And those are the treasured ones that I always like to catch. What we also have to try and take into consideration, which is the main thing I would suggest that we concentrate on, we all concentrate on in cold water conditions, is the water temperature. Now, I've written and done films at length about different thresholds of water temperature. The first one is 12 centigrade. Anything less than 12 centigrade water temperature is something where the carp's ecosystem is not fully working. So you'll get a situation like today where we've got a water temperature of just less than 8 degrees. That means that the carp is actually not fully functioning. It doesn't mean it doesn't feed. It means that its mobility and its appetite is greatly reduced. When you start to get, we're now near the mid to end of February, when you start to get only 4 or 5 weeks from now, end of March, where the clocks start to go back, then you'll see the carp start to move about more. At that point, that's when I'll change the level of bait that I apply, and I'll change the level of accuracy in relation to where the bait is going in relation to the freebies and the placement of them. We've done a bit of footage today, which Neil has done, where you will see me casting out to certain spots and see me putting a bit of bait out. My emphasis over the years has been to try and move fish around from bait to bait, and you only get that by using either bigger baits or using no bait. If you think about it, if you don't use much bait, then fish aren't going to come across loose feed. So when they come across your bait, you're either going to get a pickup or you're not going to get a pickup. Now then, let's throw in the situation where you're using more bait, and that's when you get fish shoaled up in an area. Now that's great, and that brings action. But over the course of a 12-month period, what I'm trying to do with my fishing is I'm trying to not catch all the carp or not catch many carp. I'm trying to catch the carp. And the essence on catching the carp is we all have our waters where there are one, maybe two of the carp we want to catch, whether it's Tom, Dick or Harry. We all have our favourite venues and we all have our favourite fish. What I'm trying to do is to try and, over the next 5 or 6 films, show you that catching big carp is not an accident, it's by design. There are certain pitfalls that you've got to watch in the road, and there are certain advantages that you can do. And one of the things that I'm sure you ladies and gentlemen are sick to death of me talking about is time and access. But I think it's really important that we make that point right from the get-go. Irrespective of how good an angler anybody is, you can only catch what's in front of you. And so if you are in a very privileged position and you're able to fish waters that have big fish within them, then it stands to reason you've got a far better chance of catching a big one if there's big fish in your lake. You've even got a better chance of catching a big one if there are multiple big fish. And what I'm trying to do over this year is take you on a journey where you will see the different types of venues. Contrary to popular belief, I don't just fish the one particular lake. I fish a couple of syndicate lakes and I fish a couple of club lakes. And what we're going to do over the course of 2026 is take you to the various waters that I fish, and you can see how there are certain commandments of carp fishing. I call them the 10 commandments of carp fishing. I won't bore you with them now, but it's basically the 10 commandments that I work by, and those have stayed with me throughout all of my carp fishing journey and have generally delivered the goods in relation to catching big fish. Without question though, the carp scene of 2026 is invariably different to the carp scene of 2006, never mind 1986. And one of the biggest advances has been the amount of big fish that are up and down the UK now. And so when as just 20 years ago 40-pound carp were very, very rare, they seem to be now more and more of them coming about. And it would be easy to make these videos that we're going to do just big is best, big is best, big is best. Not at all. What I want to try and do is to try and tap into your enjoyment cell and try and make it so that you understand that enjoyment is derived from many types of fishing and from many types of anglers. And as much as someone like me might not want to go to the likes of Linear or Bluebell or Farlow's or Sandhurst or wherever and catch 20/20s or 10/30s, for me now, at my stage of carp fishing, I would rather try and catch a big one because it just gives me a sense of achievement and it's what I like to do. But don't let anybody kid you. Catching big fish is habitual. Once you've caught one, you'll very quickly realise, you know what, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. And hopefully over the course of a year in 2026, you'll see as we start to tot up these big ones that there are no functional reasons for doing it other than the access to them. In other words, a 20-pounder from Yorkshire or a 40-pounder from Grenville or from these big fish waters up and down the country, the amount of actual energy that goes into it and the amount of knowledge and the amount of effort are similar. So the first thing that I want to say to people is try and understand that the number one rule I want to work at during this series is for you to understand and appreciate the enjoyment that I still get out of it. It's very hard for a guy as old as me and has been carp fishing as long as me, which is over 50 years carp fishing now, over 50 years, for people to still think, surely, Mark, you don't get the same kick that you used to do. You know what I do? And this is the strange thing that I've not worked out myself. How can it be that after all these years, I get a buzz when that alarm goes off? And the simple fact is that I honestly believe that there are certainly within a lot of carp fishermen, we've never grown up. We get this buzz out of camping outside, we get the buzz out of frying sausages and bacon and making cups of tea outside. And I think it's something within all of us that we like to do. The old cowboys and Indians when you were a kid, you know, camping outside and running around. It's just, to me, an extension of that. And I think that when I see young anglers, middle-aged anglers and old anglers, the enjoyment that they derive is from the fishing. And I think as much as we can say there are certain things that divide us, the one thing that fishermen all have in common is this fishing bug that we've caught. And I think it's important that we try and concentrate on helping people to realise that that fishing bug can grade itself in certain ways in people. Not everybody wants to go down the big fish route, and hopefully what you'll see with the films is that not only will Mark Holmes be catching 40, 50 pounders, hopefully, there'll also be a plethora of 20 and 30 pounders, because in order to get to the bigger fish, sometimes you've got to understand that you have to go through the backup stock as well. And unless we're in a situation where we're fishing on the surface for fish we can see, or we're stalking fish for fish that we can see, it is really one bite at a time. And this one bite at a time has to be done in such a regimental way, Mark Holmes is fishing, that it becomes routine. So as much as routine can become boring, if routine is full of enjoyment, which is what the number one thing is that we're all trying to get in carp fishing, to enjoy the fishing, then it doesn't become a task to me. Lots of my non-fishing friends say to me, how can you spend all your time there, Holmesy, just sat there looking out at motionless rods, or occasionally, if you're lucky, one of those rods will roar off? They don't get it. I think you, the viewer out there, you must have an interest in carp fishing. I think you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. And I'm hoping that by the end of this series, 2026, if I've still managed to survive and I haven't shaken off the mortal coil, you'll see that as old as I am, and as long as I've been doing this, that buoyant enthusiasm is what keeps us going. So you'll see lots of different tactics, you'll see lots of different methods, and you'll see different waters, and I'm hoping that at the end of it there'll be something that you can take for your own fishing. That's the reason why people still want to listen to my diatribe and still want to come and see my shows, is because I think that even my worst critic would say it's not about me, it's not about just what I've caught. What it's about is trying to show people that carp fishing is a broad church, and there are many people under the roof of carp fishing. But at the end of the day, it's what it means to you, and you alone, that ultimately will decide how much enjoyment you get out of it. So without setting myself up for a fall, I hope that we can prove in 2026 that carp fishing is not as hard as people make out, it's not as easy as people make out, and it's also lots of fun. So let's keep our fingers crossed, let's have a good 2026, and hopefully when I'm sat here next year, we can look back and go, you know what, we did it right. But who knows? But welcome to the journey, and let's see what can happen.